Hello, everybody. This is Matthew Brand. Welcome to the Amethyst Podcast, Episode 9. And today I'm continuing on with the Avatar The Last Airbender and Tarot series, where I compare characters in Avatar to the major arcana in the tarot cards. Not only because I think they represent them very well, I also think it's a good analysis for if you. It's hard to analyze yourself. I think of the tarot as a psychological book. And with Avatar Last Airbender, if you resonate with one of these characters, and there's many characters that have all these journeys, you'll see that they accomplish these journeys. They move past these struggles that they have. And if you resonate with one of these characters, maybe you can use the archetypes to help you move forward, you know, seeing what they did. Two is a good analysis in character study, right? If you're creating characters or if you like stories, it's good for that. With that being said, let's move forward. Today's card is the High Priestess, and I'm going to be comparing it to Katara from Avatar. Now, Katara is the superego of the show. She's the moral compass of the group in this three-man band. Sokka being the magician and Aang being the fool card, right? Now, in the Rider Weight deck, which will I use, and I'll explain why in a moment, you'll see that the card has two pillars on each side of it, one with a B, one with a J, representing, two different things. You have behind her pomegranates. She's wearing a hat that belongs to an Egyptian goddess, a cross around her neck, a blue veil. She's holding a religious book, and at the bottom is a moon. And I think that's important. This is why I use the Rider Weight deck, because I believe the positions of all of this are also extremely important. Where when you get more stylized cards, these symbols, the main symbols, may be everywhere in the card, or some of them may be missing, but they also may be in odd positions and it doesn't show it as clearly. Sometimes even things where the eyes are looking are very important. And again, when you get these more stylized cards, you may not see that. And they'll just have you being reliant on their description of what it means. With Katara, what you have is she's a waterbender. She very often influences people through conversation, morality. She heals people. Again, that's something a priestess typically does, right? Uses her uh, powers of healing. Her power is water, something also very much equated with priests and religion. And she wears blue. There's a lot of connections there. And she is empowered by the moon. If you watch the show, you'll notice that when the moon comes out, she has more power. And if it's a full moon, she gets extremely powerful. Now, one of the most important things to note is this is a good skill to have. It is good to be able to influence people. Sometimes you can't always use money or your skills to get what you want. And when those fail, it tends to be that you want to influence. And I want to say this again, this doesn't necessarily always tie to women. It's just considered a feminine energy. And the reason for that is, historically speaking, women aren't as strong as men. They get their strength from the community. So they want to be a good influence with the community, not just influential. They want to be influence people around them to want to protect them, because if they let's say genetically speaking, if we were in a time with less technology and less infrastructure, we didn't have police and, you know, weapons to defend ourselves, what we would end up with is reliant on the community to do that for us. So it is traditionally speaking that influencing people or getting people to like you, wanting to be, loved and cared for, not just romantically, but by all those around you, is very important. This is why appearances are very important to a lot of women, where guys sometimes just really couldn't care less. They want people to care for them. Not saying that this is always a woman thing, is just considered a more feminine energy. And this is where also the struggle comes in. With Katara, you'll notice in the show that she hardly thinks that other people are more right than her, more intelligent than her. She gets upset if they have more skills than her. This is something that you'll see a lot of people do if they have more feminine energy. They can't be wrong. They can't be, looked at as bad. They can't be looked at like that. And this is why in the card, the moon is at the bottom, which is, again, why I like the Rider Waite deck, because that moon in more stylized decks can be kind of anywhere. Sometimes it's behind them, sometimes it's above them, sometimes it's just placed in the card. But because it's beneath her in these symbols of like the moon, the stars, different things like that, where they are is showing where that thing is in view of themselves, right? Because this is a self reflection. This isn't how it applies to everybody. When it's applying to you, if you think you're the most moral person around and everybody else's moral compass is beneath you, you don't see a paragon, right? Let's say, for example, with certain cards, you may see like a sun above, directly above them, right? If it's behind them, that shows that perhaps they had looked up to somebody, but now they believe that they're moving past that. When it's beneath you, that means that you are the moral compass. You see yourself as the pinnacle of where people's mindsets and thoughts should be. Sometimes it even comes to the point where when you're influencing or telling people others where to go, even if you haven't made the best decisions in your life, you it's understandable to think that they're valid, but you may also suggest those same bad decisions to other people because you could not be wrong. And this is something with Katara in the show. She doesn't like to be wrong. If Aang starts waterbending better than her, she gets cranky. When Sokka has an idea or he turns out he's right, she's unhappy about the situation. She'll perhaps admit that he's wrong later because, again, she is a good moral person in the show and she is shown to have a high level of morality. But let's be honest, in reality, we are not always the most moral people. And the people in the show are good people, but you should be able to see somebody as higher than you. You should be able to accept that there are people there who you can listen to. She's not very good at listening to people. So if you find yourself fitting this card, you resonate with this character, one thing you may want to do is be able to show enough humility, right? To let that moon that's at the bottom perhaps be at the top. There should be somebody that you look up to. There should be somebody who you can say, you know what? That's what I want to be moving forward, right? And maybe one day you will surpass them. But there's always somebody better than you in that category, whatever journey you're on. There's always people who have moved forward. You hear the, tale of stepping on the shoulders of a giant, right? People have paved the pathway for you so that you can emulate that and then one day move forward. But if you think you're the pinnacle, you don't emulate that, you go your own way. And again, this is why these cards are so close to the Fool card, because it's the beginning of the journey, right? And you'll notice that a lot of people who read tarot cards uh, have a hard time reading yourself. And even when you do kind of understand some things in yourself, it's hard to tell yourself that, maybe you don't have it all right. The Fool card is epitome of, thinking you have it all figured out. But the Priestess and the Magician are just the one step beyond where, okay, I didn't have it all figured out, but uh, I still want something. I still want to move forward. So now that I've hit a roadblock, what am I going to use to get past this? The Magician has an idea. You'll notice there's nothing above him either. He's just holding up one hand. That's what's above him. That's his idea, and he's trying to manifest that idea with what's below him, which is uh, the other hand pointing downward. With the Priestess card, she again, you hit a roadblock and you're using influence. You're using those around you to get what you want. When sometimes you may need to be more practical in what's going on. You can be led away by other people's influence. You can be trusting too much in your intuition because you think your intuition is the pinnacle of intuition. So that's typically the setup, right? If you're like Sokka and you're a little bit too practical, sometimes you need other people around you to give you that, helpful boost. You're maybe relying too much on your skills and not the, influence of others. With the Priestess card, it's kind of the same way in reverse. You're relying too much on your intuition instead of trusting the practicality and skills of the people around you. So, that being said, thanks for tuning in. If you like this or you found it informative, I would very much hope that you give it a like. Other than that, if you have any criticism, please leave a comment. God bless you. I hope you have a great day.